Hi, I'm Kaylee, and this is Sarah. Welcome to our Mental Health by K&S.
Our purpose for creating this podcast was to hear about others' experiences with their mental illnesses.
How we can improve our own mental health and to spread more awareness about mental illnesses. For this episode, we are going to focus on the impact of social media on mental health.
Today, we will be having a special interview with Katie Allard. We will be asking her about the effects of social media on our mental health.
Okay, to initially clear up more about our podcast, Sarah will be talking about the expectations of the podcast, the warnings, and some of her experiences with social media. Please, Sarah, explain. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Kaylee. So the expectations mainly would be that we are, for the most part, always going to be talking about mental health and ways that we can, improve our mental health. And we're going to talk about, coping mechanisms and stuff like that.
And people you can find help in, especially when you don't exactly know what's happening or might just don't know how to help something. Like, if you're really depressed and you don't have anyone to talk to, well, we're always here to listen. You can email us. We don't give out, exact,
We don't give out our actual email, but we will give out our podcast email that we made very specifically for this podcast.
We also don't make diagnoses. That's not our responsibility. The best thing to do is go to a therapist or a mental health institution for a exact diagnosis. We are just here to simply explain, learn, and hopefully help, not diagnose.
Yeah. The next thing would be warnings. Our main warnings for at least most of our episodes would be talks of depression, suicide, cutting, what else? Do you have any input, Kaylee?
Mostly just know that if there is something really sensitive and we didn't put a warning out, please notify us because we will immediately try to fix that. And we will try to do our best to stay on top of warnings, especially with sensitive topics. But know that if you are uncomfortable with something, please notify us and we will do our best to do what we can. But know that we aren't really trying to be rude about anything or much of anything, actually. We're just trying to learn from other people's experiences and kind of just do what we do, and that's helping people. So please, if there's any sensitive topic that we did not put a warning out for, please notify us, because that would be so easy for us to go back and put in, because we don't want people to feel uncomfortable about anything.
Especially because we're just trying to help people. And we kind of can't help you if you are uncomfortable. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sarah, what were some of your experiences with social media, since this is a topic about social media?
So, I've had a lot happen. I've experienced, cyberbullying before. People weren't so nice to me before. And then all of a sudden, I just stopped being active because I just couldn't deal with the stress anymore. And so I just stopped using social media for a while. And then, 2 years ago, I started getting back into social media. and like actually being present, and I found that a lot of people haven't really been that mean to me much. There's still a couple of people who will be mean, but like not a lot of people, you know?
Now, I have a question. What app were you on when you were getting bullied?
I was on Instagram.
That makes a lot of sense because there are a lot of people on there that do find it, how do I say this, entertaining to bully someone, especially someone they don't exactly know.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with the stress afterwards?
I kind of just tried to keep my mind off of it. I focused a lot on things that I found, like very calming, which was mainly reading, drawing, using coloring books. I have this really nice shark one. I really like using that one.
I bet you're absolutely obsessed with sharks. I swear. But speaking of Instagram, what would you give, like, sorry, advice to someone who may be having an issue with cyberbullying? What advice would you give them?
Definitely block them and report them. Because if you just leave them be, they're definitely gonna, cyberbully someone else, and then that person could have a way more negative response than you did. So,
Definitely. I kind of agree with that, especially with just kind of like deleting the app. Like, if it feels toxic to you, just delete it. It
Yeah.
doesn't take that much to just hit the delete button. It may be hard because you might have found some friends on there, but then again, they also have to understand that you need time for yourself, and this negative space isn't gonna help you in any way.
Yeah, and like you can always give those friends some other way to contact you, like either via a different social media account or giving them your phone number. Now, I'm not saying to give your phone number to a random person because that would be a little bit dangerous. So, there's that.
Definitely now, especially nowadays. You
Yeah.
never know who's gonna be around the corner. But thank you for sharing your experience, Sarah. Do you want to hear mine?
Yes, of course I want to hear yours.
Okay, so I never grew up with a lot of social media. I never grew up with a lot of social media due to the fact that I had strict parents and they never really loved me having social media, and I'm still at the age of 15 not allowed to have a huge variety of social media. Like, I can have Pinterest and that's it. Pinterest and certain texting apps, but Snapchat and TikTok are a no because you can look up random people and like talk to them, and my parents feel uncomfortable with that, especially with the creepy people nowadays. But as a kid, I did get a hold of social media when I was like 7, and I saw things that I probably shouldn't have, and that was probably the worst experience of my life, was seeing some things that I knew I shouldn't have seen, and I also got bullied quite a lot when I was on TikTok.
Same. I understand that so bad. Also, guys, if anyone sends you inappropriate pictures, block them immediately.
Please, like, it's not okay for someone to do that, especially if you were under the age of 18 or it's someone you do not know. Sorry, I almost said donut. Do not know. But make sure that if it's someone you do know and they're sending that, just block them and then confront them, because it's not going to get any better if you just continue and do not do anything about it. But I also had, for some of my experiences, I also induced hate and bullying on TikTok because no one liked my videos and I wasn't popular enough and no one knew me and I was mysterious. So a lot of people hated on me, which I really didn't care. But I also had a bunch of creepy people come and DM me, which I think people need to be careful with that, especially with being on TikTok, because random people can see your videos at random times and they can probably just follow you and then hack your account. So I would say trying to make a private account would be the best solution, and just going around and telling friends and family. Only them, because to be fully honest, it's just going to make things worse if you have to continue on with an actual account and you're getting hated on or someone random is talking to you.
And also, I feel like if you really don't want people to know information, just put down some fake information, especially if you're really not comfortable with others knowing your information. Especially on platforms where random people can just see your stuff.
Yeah, especially with your birthday, because you don't want to put your actual age, because then you'll have a whole bunch of people coming after you. You won't want to put your actual name. You want to put like an account that's personal to you and is used for personal things. I would just make them an account, or just don't make it. Just don't do anything with that app, because no matter what you do, someone's always going to DM you some creepy things, and it's just not safe anymore. You gotta think smarter than go around and do a whole bunch of things and act like no one's gonna hurt you. But then again, you gotta remember that today is different. Like tomorrow, maybe you'll find someone nice you'll talk to now. But you also have to remember that you still have to be cautious about the people around you, because everyone can take advantage of someone no matter what happens. Especially through social media, because that's where people show themselves, where they act themselves and they do a lot of personal things.
And especially if someone just seems older than they tell you that they are, don't trust it. It's most likely a scam or a ploy to hurt you in some way, shape, or form.
That's why I don't want to bring this up because this is a really sensitive topic for most people, but Momo in middle school, if you guys don't know who that is, we had an issue in Corning Panda Post Middle School where this creepy person would post really creepy videos on Peppa Pig, and it would be spread around the internet because everyone would be reposting it and reposting it and reposting it because they thought, oh my goodness, this is so funny. But really, there's some people out there that are like, oh my goodness, my siblings could see this and this could be scary for them and things could happen. Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
On, right? Yeah.
Okay, today we have Katie Allard for an interview on social media. Hi, Miss Allard.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Why did you choose to become a social worker?
I've always really wanted to help people, specifically teens, so becoming a school social worker allowed me to help teens in their natural school environment, which I really enjoy doing.
Do you think social media affects teenagers and young adults?
Absolutely. Teenagers, young adults, older adults, I think we're all impacted by our social media use.
Do you think that the... do you think... What do you think has the most impact on a student's mental health?
I think that students' ability to come up with healthy coping skills has an impact on their mental health. Obviously, the more positive coping skills that we can have and the positive supports we can surround ourselves with help mitigate some of the mental health stressors that we are faced with.
What do you request a student or person should do when they feel like social media has a negative impact on them?
I think that first of all, it's great that they have an awareness of the impact that social media is having on them. If they are starting to feel like it's a negative impact, I think that they need to start monitoring what apps are they using that are creating that negative mindset and eliminate that use. So if it's TikTok that's just bringing you down, or Facebook's bringing you down, or Snapchat, then perhaps it's time to take a break from those apps and shift your energy elsewhere. I think the other piece is to monitor the amount of time that you're utilizing those apps, and just be mindful of the amount of time that you're spending on those.
Following that up, what do you think a person could do to like help remind themselves to like stop what they're doing and just not focus on all the negatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being kind of having check ins. So I know, like on my personal phone, I have it monitored to a certain time limit. So it comes up when I've got 15 minutes left on my preset time limit for social media. So that's it. When that's up for the day for me. If I notice that, I'm not liking what I'm seeing, I'm kind of aware of that, and I immediately shift gears and kind of put the phone down. Sometimes it's hard. You have to put the phone in a separate room, otherwise it's something quick to pick back up and spend some more time on.
Yeah, because like I know I tend to typically like set down my phone and just forget that it's there completely. But sometimes it's really hard to just not use it.
I love how I don't have the same issue because I hadn't had a phone until now.
Well, I mean, you remember how much I would forget my phone in places.
Yeah, okay. Well, do you think social media can have a positive impact on the world?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that social media allows us to foster connections, sometimes with like family that are long distance, FaceTiming with people we haven't seen in a while. Especially during COVID, there were some positives that did come out of that. So I think with any type of technology, there's positive and negative outcomes for those. You just have to be mindful and monitor yourself so that you're making the best choices for your own mental well-being.
What are some differences you have seen within the years of being a social worker?
Yeah, so I feel like with COVID and the isolation that brought about, now that we're back together and trying to find this new sense of norm, I feel like we have lost some of our social skills, our abilities to start conversations, continue those conversations. How do we ask for help when we need it? Those self-advocacy skills. So I think these are areas where we just have to be mindful and aware that we might be struggling and rebuild some of those skill sets.
I definitely relate to that because I'm also an introvert, so I struggled, especially during COVID, to come back to school and talk to people, especially teachers, because I was around myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have kids my age where I live because I live where a bunch of little kids live.
Yeah, so now we're back and have to kind of go out of our comfort zone a little bit to re-engage that skill set.
And we all know how it was with me.
We're all
Panic
both
attacks
staring
like
at
every
you.
second.
We're both like staring at you because we know.
Well, the first step to kind of working on that is self-awareness. And so we're here and we're at this space where we're realizing we need to work on those skills. And now is the part where we take those action steps to enhance that.
Definitely,
Yeah.
especially when it's someone who struggles with their hormones, especially teenagers and young adults who aren't fully developed.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to students for social media regarding their mental health? I think this is also a rerun of another question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly strategies of being aware. Is this making me feel good? Is this not? If it's not making you feel good, eliminate it. Reduce your time on it. Delete the app altogether. You don't need it in your life. Be mindful of the notifications. Kids are getting notifications left and right. It's amazing. I don't know how some of you guys get some stuff done with all the distractions.
I don't.
Boy.
Yeah, so go on your notifications, turn those off. Then you have to make an active stance to open the app to check things. It's not something that's constantly
I'm
buzzing
pretty
in
sure
your
you can
pocket.
set a timer or a clock for when it does notifications
Yeah.
are allowed to come back on and turn off.
Absolutely. And then set those timer limits so it monitors your use and kind of keeps you aware of how much time you're spending on
Yeah.
those.
My thing with that is, like, if I turn off the notifications, I'm just never gonna check it, and I'm gonna be like missing literally everything. And I'm gonna be like, wait, what? You texted me?
Has social media had an impact on you as an adult, and what did you do to help that?
I think absolutely. I have been down the rabbit hole myself on TikTok and other social media platforms. But I think it's, I think becoming more grounded and aware of that. And I mean, I've deleted it. Like I realized I was spending way too much time on TikTok, and what's the point? Because only really every third video is funny. So I had to delete it, like off my phone. It wasn't benefiting me. What am I doing with my time? So I think you just have to be aware and cut the negative stuff out and focus some more energy on the positive things in your life.
I relate with that because I also watch YouTube. So like, I'll watch YouTube and be like, okay, this is my final episode, and then I'm like 3 episodes later, like, what time is it? And it was like 12 p.m. and I'm like, oh no.
Easy to lose
Like,
track of time
I
for
have
sure.
School tomorrow.
I did that
Good.
the other day. I was reading like I normally do. I was reading a manga. And I was just scrolling through and I was reading and I was reading. And I was like, one more chapter, that's it. I'd read another chapter, I'd go, I'm gonna read another chapter, and then I'd just keep reading. And it's like, of course.
And then you wake up and you're so drowsy in school and you're just like, I don't want to deal with anyone right now.
Oh, trust me, I woke up at 7 today. At 7. I rushed to get ready.
How was your childhood different from kids' lives nowadays?
Thankfully, I did not have the world at my fingertips on a phone. So my school life was different than my home life, and it was very separated. And, for good or for bad, you guys have all of these abilities at your fingertips. So you have to develop the skills to be aware and self-monitor that, I think, at a younger age than I was faced with growing up. And I think that's something I think we're trying to figure out how to instill in our youth now, because I feel like kids are getting these devices younger and younger. So we have to enforce that skill set.
But I think it's also because the adults who weren't raised on it, they don't really understand the awareness yet because they weren't raised on it. So that's slowly like getting to them, like, oh, someone texted me, you gotta pick it up. And then that's developing onto the kids, which is slowly starting to go through generation to generation.
Absolutely, we are
My
seeing some
niece,
generational
who's
shifts.
a 3-year-old, already has her own tablet.
But that's a tablet. The parents can control what she does on there.
Yeah, but she still carries it around everywhere like it's a phone. She's
but if you
3.
think
She
about it-
doesn't need it.
There's limitations to tablets, though.
Yeah, there's also limitations to phones.
True. To certain phones, though. That's different. Well,
Not
thank you,
on
Miss
flip
Allard,
phones.
for coming here and answering a few of our questions. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.
Thank you both.
We want to thank Miss Allard again for letting us interview her. It was such a pleasure being able to interview her. We've taken a lot of time to be able to get to a hold of her. It has been such a long journey being able to get this episode done. We're not sure if we're going to do a special and kind of just upload our bloopers because it's pretty chaotic. But we're thinking that maybe we will, but we're not sure.
We didn't even save any of our bloopers.
You might not think so.
You saved all of our bloopers?
Maybe a couple, but okay.
Why?
To get back on track. Okay, to get back on track. We wanted to summarize the end of our outros just to, in case someone was to skip through or anything. But basically, we think that everyone should have a perfect balance of social media and real world because there's a lot of things you can learn in social media, but there's also good lessons you can learn through the reality of things. So please, if you're struggling with anything, just go get some help or just cut off some of your social media time or something that's not doing too well for you.
Yeah, and like Kaylee said, we learned quite a bit about how social media has a giant impact on our mental health, which can either be positive or negative.
Definitely, especially through certain things because when I was struggling with some of my social media experiences, I did have parts that were helpful and good, and I liked them because they were positive, but then there were aspects that I knew weren't that great and they were bad and they shouldn't have had those experiences. But then again, mistakes are mistakes and everyone makes them, but you have to change what you need to change for yourself.
And unfortunately, sometimes there's consequences, very severe ones, for what you chose to do with your social media time. And sometimes you just need to take your consequences and learn from them, and things will get better.
Definitely, I can relate to that, especially through some of my experiences. But like we were saying, please, if you ever need to just talk to someone, we will have our email said at the end of this so that you can email us for any help. We cannot diagnose you. We cannot give out certain medical stuff, but we can just listen and maybe support you through some of your hardships, especially during social media era where our generation's connected to social media so hard that it's can be a bad thing, especially with some of the mental health, especially with us growing and our mental health isn't fully there yet.
Yeah, and if you have anything you would need us to touch base on or anything like that, just email us. We can totally touch base on that, because we find it important to be informative when people need us to be informative. So
Definitely, especially with teens nowadays and young adults. Even the older generation, they still struggle with some of the social media stuff because they never had this as a kid. They don't know where to put the line and stop their connection to it. They kind of just roll with what they think is best, which can be hurtful to our generation because sometimes they just don't pay attention and it hurts. Because I understand the feeling. I had to go through that as a kid, and I still partially do, but my family is learning to help themselves to just relax and everything. But, Sarah, would you like to discuss what our next episode is going to be about?
yeah, our next episode is going to be discussing depression and anxiety within teens and adolescents. Basically, with that, we're just going to be describing what depression is, how it can happen, main things that, can cause it, not that we can do anything to tell you exactly what causes it, but we can try and help.
And thank you, listeners, for being here and listening to our episode today. We hope you have a good day, and thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.